health and wellness. Today, we're going to talk about Whole30. Join the City True Stories is a program that highlights people and organizations having an impact in our city. All too often, we hear about the dysfunction and the problems in our culture. But we're coming from a different approach as we take a look at the good things going on right here in our community. I'm Lindsay Irvin, and you're about to see what God is doing in our city. This is the second episode of our health and wellness series. Today we're going to hear about Whole30. This is a 30-day clean eating plan designed to reset and clean up your eating habits. We will talk with several who have experienced this and talk about the benefits and challenges of Whole30.
Well, today we're going to be talking about Whole30. And I've learned some things that I didn't know about it. So I think it's a very interesting concept. So let's just dive right into it. What is Whole30?
It's an elimination diet that it helps to take all of the foods that are typically problematic, whether it's science-backed or clinical trials that they found that certain foods don't agree with wide varieties of people. So what you do during this 30-day process is you eliminate all of the foods that could potentially be problematic, and then after the 30 days you introduce them in a very specific way and you isolate each one, and by doing so you find out which foods work for you, not necessarily which foods are good and bad, because every person is completely different.
So what benefits did you get having done it one time?
So with me, it's hard to say because I love food. So it's not super hard, but I slept better. I did find that I have like other sensitivities to different foods. So like corn is something that does not digest well with me at all. It actually hurts I get a pain in my stomach, which I didn't know prior. Some of the other ones that I've had sensitivities to, I did already know. But so just finding new things that your body reacts differently to was super helpful for me.
Right.
I think my head was a little clearer because I was getting rid of all these things that were affecting it that I didn't recognize what I was doing before. You have a lot less, you have very little sugars unless they come from fruits. Like natural sugars you can have, but like fruit sugar, but any added sugars I wouldn't have. And so I think most people probably have reactions to sugars, whether they want to admit it or not. But being diabetic, it's very easy for me to see and to be able to tell that just by getting rid of some of this for a certain amount of time was better for me, even mentally, I think.
Sure.
Not just physically, mentally thinking more clearly, and not as cloudy and just not as fuzzy. So that was definitely the benefits that I went through. I also this meal plan is not for really losing weight, I think. What I've read, it's not the reason to go on it.
Sure. Yeah.
But in 28 days I lost 20 pounds. And I'm still considered heavy in my weight class and how tall I am, and I will always probably be. But I don't know if that's a benefit, or for most people I think that would be a benefit.
Absolutely.
Right.
To lose that weight, and I do feel like my knees and my joints feel better because I'm not carrying as much weight. And so the first time I did it in 28 days I lost I think 22 pounds.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if that says about how great Whole30 was or how terribly I was eating before, that I had that much weight to lose in 28 days. But those are definitely the benefits I had. I did sleep better. I was clearer mentally. I felt better. I had some more energy at times throughout that month. Not consistently through the whole month, but definitely at times where I didn't need the coffee, or if I didn't need the stimulant to keep me going, I did actually have more energy, and I lost some weight. So.
Cool. Lindsay, how about you?
I think mine was kind of twofold. So I've done several Whole30s. So my first Whole30 experience, I too lost some weight. I definitely felt like I had more energy that was sustained throughout the day. I didn't feel like I was dragging by 2 p.m. and needed a second or third coffee. So that was helpful. But I also noticed that my attitude about my day was better because I felt clearer and because I had more energy. It wasn't a drudgery to do certain things that before just sounded terrible. So definitely like a mental space and an emotional space, it was helpful. The weight loss was great, but I wasn't really going into it for that. So those were like quick things that I noticed, but having done the Whole30 a couple of times, I noticed something that I didn't expect. So I came to Whole30 from kind of a healthier, quote unquote healthier side of things. I was marathon training. I was eating a quote unquote healthy diet, and I thought that I was in probably the best shape of my life. So I was like kind of surprised when I found out that Whole30 helped to stabilize what I didn't realize was an unstable blood sugar. So it was normal for me to have to eat every 2 hours, or I would have a nasty sugar crash and I would be hangry. My husband likes to remind me how mean I was. So those were normal, and I didn't realize until I had done Whole30 a couple of times, and sometimes for an extended period, that my body actually started to heal itself. And so the way that you eat on Whole30 is you're eating probably about half your plate in some kind of a vegetable. You have a serving of protein, you have healthy fat, and then there's some fruit added in there. So because you're balancing your plate, your body has this sustained energy, and when your body learns how to use all of the forms of energy from carbs, from fats, and from protein, you're able to go for longer durations without having those crashes. I had no idea. I didn't know I was not feeling well until I was feeling better. And the same kind of fell into, I didn't have any food intolerances that I knew of. I thought I was fine. I was eating healthy food, but I would have oatmeal every morning. I would have yogurt every afternoon, peanut butter on all of the things. And I thought giving up all of these things for Whole30 is ridiculous. Why would I do that? But it was a challenge, so I took it. And afterwards, after having done it, I tried to eat oatmeal, and I had this really nasty, like, stomach ache. I tried yogurt, and I got heartburn. I was like, what is this? I never had this before. But really, I did. I noticed that because my sugar was staying even and I was feeling good all the time, when I added something back in that had been causing an issue probably all along, when I added it back in, I noticed, okay, that doesn't work for me, or that's not something I can do all the time. I learned, just like Gerald said, I learned what worked for me and what my body could tolerate and handle. And just knowing that I was feeling so poorly before and having seen something different, it's like a little light bulb that goes on. You're like, oh, okay, so this makes sense now.
You've probably heard about the Whole30 by now. You've heard of someone who's done it or had great success with the program, or you've seen it on your local news channel or national media. You can think of the Whole30 like pushing the reset button with your health, your habits, and your relationship with food. So for 30 days, you'll pull out foods that the scientific literature and our clinical experience have shown to be really commonly problematic to varying degrees across a broad range of people. You're gonna pull that stuff out of your diet and see what changes. Energy, sleep, mood, attention span, skin, cravings, aches and pains, any number of medical symptoms. What happens when you pull these potentially problematic foods out of your diet for a whole month? At the end of the 30 days, you'll reintroduce those foods very carefully and systematically, one at a time, like a scientific experiment, and you'll see what changes. This information lets you create the perfect diet for you long term, because there is no one size fits all.
Well, now, Whole30, from what I understand, is just something that you're basically on for 30 days. Then what is it that has to happen after that 30 days?
So the Whole30 is 30 days of eating what is considered an elimination diet. So you're taking out the problematic foods, and then after 30 days, you introduce each of the food groups that you have eliminated in a very systematic way. You try to only add that food group in, so you're very careful as to not mixing and matching.
Correct.
So what you'll do is after the 30 days, on day 31, you add in one specific food group. I believe the program calls for lentils, but for the sake of the argument,
beans.
you'll add the lentils in for that one day, and you'll eat them at all 3 meals if you can. And then after that 3 meal period, you go back to 2 days of your elimination diet. And what you're looking for is, how did my body respond? Is it messing with my energy levels? Am I stuffy in my nose? Am I exhibiting any issues with my digestion? Like, does any of this feel like I'm not feeling super great? And then assess that after you've gone 2 days. Then after you introduce your first, you introduce your second, and you go through this process, which is completely outlined in Whole30. And then you just take mental notes. You write them down. You just log them as, this is now your knowledge of you.
Yeah.
This is your gift to yourself. You know you. So you can make knowledgeable, cognizant decisions about what you will and will not eat. You have freedom then to do and be your best self because you actually know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good, really well said, that it's not necessarily that these things that maybe you do have sensitivities to that you're away from forever.
Yep.
But now you have the knowledge to know whether or not it's worth having it. And I think that's been a blessing for me to being like type 1, being who I am just with food, and like the troubles I've had with food in my past, like knowing exactly what this thing will make me feel like, either drain me, or like maybe even, like you said, the stuffiness or cold symptoms or whatever it is, however it affects my body, I know that, and being able to tell whether this thing is worth it. And so for me, sometimes it still is. Sometimes things are still worth the mild sensitivity that I might get. So it's not like, oh, all these things are bad for me now, I'm not ever going to have anything that I used to love again. It's really good to put that perspective on it, because it is. Then now you have the knowledge to know whether you can deal with that headache or for a little bit, or so
one of the things that they kind of talk about in your post Whole30 experience is that you get to make the decision from here on out, is this something that's worth it?
The
Whole30 is not designed to be something that limits you for the rest of your life. Whole30 is here for you to identify what's good for you and what's not awesome for you, and then you can make your decisions as you live your life. So whether you choose to go back to eating out all the time, you can do it cognizantly. If you choose to go a paleo route because you just feel so awesome on Whole30, you could do that too. You have endless opportunities and options available to you to fit you.
I think it's more about the education that you get from it, as opposed to, like, it does do amazing things, I think, for your body and for like knowing, but the benefit, one of the biggest benefits is just the education that it gives you to be able to handle like food different ways.
So what would you tell others if they came to you and said, guys, I'm thinking about going Whole30. What do you think?
I would say find somebody that has done it and done it well. I even today I was talking about Lindsay being like our sensei. So like if we don't know something, I ask Ben and Lindsay. And it's become more than just food. Like today I asked her some random question. And she doesn't always know all the answers, but I mean, if I don't know, I ask her because I know she's like very into knowing things. So she's very detailed. Like, I want to know. And if she wants to know, she wants to know, and she'll know it. So if you can find a Lindsay, find your own. But no, I'm just kidding. But find a friend or somebody that you trust that has done it, or that knows about it, or that's knowledgeable. That would be my biggest key. People that have done it before, it's a whole 30-day process, so they probably even have recipes and like things you can actually make and try, which is huge to be prepared for me. So if I had to jump in, like tomorrow I'm starting Whole30 and I didn't do anything today, I would probably not do very well. But so doing the research before you decide to do it, I think, is important. If you can find somebody that's done it before, I think that's super important. I would tell somebody, try to find somebody that you trust about their opinion and what they're saying, and that they're not trying to lead you down some strange path or the different, that you can trust their judgment. And also prepared. I think being prepared is big for me.
Knowledge is key. Like, just knowing ahead of time what to expect, and Whole30 has done a fantastic job at providing you, even with a month-long synopsis of, hey, around this day that you could be feeling this. Super helpful. So
It's very accurate as well.
Scarily accurate.
Scary accurate.
So I would say read the materials. You know, it's there for you to use. It's there for your access. You have Whole30 communities and forums that you can participate with. Gerald was saying, like, get yourself a buddy or somebody who's done it before. But even if you're just leaning into all of the resources that Whole30 does provide, it makes it a world easier. Recipes, people to help, questions and answers, like, it's all there. So utilize it, like, take advantage of it. And I would also say, in a 30-day period, you can sometimes look at that and think, oh, I could never. And I would challenge the people that do think that way, because that's the way that I thought when I first heard about Whole30. I could never. But I would challenge you to really look at, if you could feel better than you do right now, would it be worth it? Take 30 days, eat really good food, stay full, like, experience all of these positive changes. Wouldn't that be worth it? So if you can take the 30 days, challenge yourself a little bit, prepare yourself so it's easier.
Yeah.
But then after that 30 days, then be able to live in a way that you probably would have never known had you not taken the challenge. Like, it's 30 days. You could totally do this.
Yes.
And it's so empowering to know what your body can do, what your body can feel like. Living at optimum is inspiring, truly.
Well, I've seen some of your posts on Instagram and Facebook, and I've been able to sample some of those things that you have made, and honestly, they are very good.
Yeah.
It's amazing what real food tastes like.
For sure.
And that's something you're actually teaching your body, how real food is going to taste.
Yeah.
Well, now, if somebody came to you and said, well, I couldn't possibly do this because that is way too expensive, buying fruits and vegetables and meats that are good, there is just no way I could do it, what would you say?
I actually love this question, because I often tell people, you can do anything you want to do. And I will say that having done Whole30 several times, it really didn't adjust my budget that much, because if you consider, you're not going to be eating out as much.
Yeah, that's
so obviously the convenience is gone. You're going to be cooking a little bit more, and they tell you how to do it, so it's totally doable.
Yeah.
But when you're not eating out as much, huge money saver instantaneously. And whenever you are looking and focusing on something, you start to see it more often.
Yeah.
So you start to see, oh, hey, vegetables are on sale because I'm actually in this aisle more than once a month.
Yeah.
Or, hey, this is going on at my local farmer's market. Oh, there's a farmer's market? I never had to use it before.
Yeah.
So you become aware of opportunities. And I will say, having done Whole30 a couple of times, there are ways to help yourself. So frozen vegetables, not super expensive,
Yeah.
but really easy to prepare. They're not going to be a big strain on your budget, but you're getting you're getting all of the vitamins and the minerals that you should be from your vegetables. So there are ways that you can kind of shortcut the process if you don't have time to cook a full meal or whatever. So 100%, you can do whatever you set your mind to, and it gets easier when you choose to do it.
Yeah.
You can find excuses not to, or you can find reasons to, and that's really the difference.
Yeah, I know with Nicole and I, our budget actually, we were under budget for Whole30 because of the eating out costs. And so I didn't realize how often we were, and not even expensively eating out, just eating out in general costs, fuel costs and getting to wherever, whether it be like a fast food chain or wherever it was that we were going, just eating out costs money, costs a good chunk of money. And it seemed expensive whenever we'd go to the grocery store and we'd get a bunch of vegetables and we'd get a lot of things, and you pay the bill and you're like, wow, that seemed expensive. But in the long run, in the month, from cooking those foods at home, not going out anywhere, we actually saved money doing it. And I was surprised because I thought for sure, I was one of those people that was like, this is going to be too expensive. And I think I told Lindsay, I was like, I don't know if we can do it. And she's like, if Ben decides we can have enough money for this, then you could do it. She's like, we can do it, you can do it. And I was like, I trust you, okay. But the other thing with me is a lot of times before I did Whole30, when I would buy vegetables or buy fruits or whatever, I would still spend that money on them, and then they would go bad because I didn't actually cook at home as often. So this kind of forced me to use the ingredients and use the foods and the produce that I had at home. One, because you have to eat, so you have to make something, and if you have to make something, it's not going to waste.
Sure.
And so we, I think, wasted less on Whole30 and we bought way more vegetables and fruits than we did prior, and we wasted less of it. And we actually spent less money in the long run because we were cooking at home, which was really neat. For me, it was really eye-opening because I was one of those people. I was like, there's no way, this is going to be too expensive. The first time we went, that first week, we went and bought everything. I was like, there's no way I can do this for a month. I was like, this first week. And even that wasn't that expensive. It was just, it was shocking for me to see at once.
And now, here are a few letters from others who have participated in the Whole30 way of eating. I first did Whole30 as a way to get rid of sugar cravings and have more energy. At the time, my kids were still young and I was homeschooling, so I could use all the extra energy I could find. In the book, they talk about tiger blood, almost like a sense of being able to conquer anything. And I vividly remember that around 17 days into it, I woke up feeling like I had been supercharged. I could tell a huge difference on how I slept and how I woke up. I felt more alert and ready to take on the day when I woke up. I loved that feeling. I actually started to do Whole30 as a form of a fast. I had felt led to spend 30 days focusing on some issues in our community, and I felt that fasting would be a part of the season. And since Whole30 is designed as a 30-day outline abstaining from many foods that I love and crave, I thought it would be fitting. I knew it would be a discipline that would stretch me spiritually and mentally, but would also benefit me physically. It reminded me of the incredible resources God has given us to fuel our bodies in the form of whole, unadulterated food. Foods that allow our bodies to be strengthened and healed instead of bogging us down and causing inflammation, unlike much of the processed food that is so readily available to us today. I found myself having more energy, experiencing more discipline in my spiritual life, and actually beginning to crave foods that are good for me. While I don't strictly follow a Whole30 diet to this day, it changed the way I see food, and I have learned to love a clean, balanced diet that fuels me to save the life God has called me to. Now that we've talked about it, we know what it is. Is it hard to stick with this 30-day eating plan? Is it hard?
I think it depends on where you're coming from. Obviously, come from different lifestyles. Each one of us is going to have our own set of challenges whenever we're approaching Whole30. So I would say that's probably a personal answer. So for me, it was a little bit of a challenge whenever I first came to it because a lot of my major food groups were completely eliminated. But I would say that it was not that bad. And I think that that's an answer that they get a lot. It's just not that bad. Once you choose to do it, you just embrace it. I would say the biggest thing for me was not focusing on, I have to give up this, I have to give up this, I don't get this. But focusing on, I get to try this really cool recipe I saw on Whole30. I get to try this new vegetable because they threw it into this stir fry, so hey, what the heck, I'll try it. Or I get to completely different mindset. And so as long as I was approaching it with, I get to try something new, or I get to try this food, or I get to try this recipe, it was way more motivating and it made it easier for me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd say for me, at first, it really was. It was difficult because I was not in a good attitude or mindset. I was only thinking about everything that I was going to be losing.
Right.
As opposed to, I think lots of conversations at the Cup about but you get to try this thing, or have you heard of these? And like her excitement and like Ben's excitement and Nicole's coworkers' excitement about the new things of just opening my mind to things I've never had before was contagious. So like it was very hard for me at first to be like, well, but I can't have peanut butter and I love peanut butter. Like for 30 days, come on, I can't have, that's not honey. Like I love honey so much. But I can have all these other things and these fruits and these different vegetables and changing that attitude, that's a really good point. Like changing that attitude of being excited about trying these new things, which I like to try new things. So it's right up my alley. It's just I had to get myself out of the way.
That's all the time we have today. Thank you for watching Joy in the City True Stories. Let me encourage you to watch other episodes of people and organizations having an impact on our community through our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Then join us back here next week at the same time for another True Story episode. Be encouraged because God is moving in our city.
God is on the move.